Hello, everyone. It got much colder out here tonight.
Welcome to spring in Illinois. You don't know what the fuck's gonna happen.
It's very unpredictable here. So this movie actually came out last weekend, but I was at con last weekend. I was at Wizard World, so I had to... It was one I had to do by myself, too. Gino was gonna come to Wizard World, but at the last minute, he couldn't. Laura had to hang back, too, so we just had to wait till the night to see Death Wish, and after this, I'm at Red Sparrow. Anyway, so this is the, short, let's call it a remake of Death Wish.
It's been, honestly, 15 years or more since I've seen Death Wish. It wasn't a straight remake. I mean, it was pretty close.
No, it's not.
The major plot point is there.
In that there is a vigilante in it. Sure. The biggest problem of this movie,
the Jodie Foster one was closer, right?
Yeah, that was closer,
Yeah.
kind of. The Kevin Bacon one, which Death Sentence, which the book is a sequel to Death Wish. Even the original Death Wish movie is not quite like... The tone is a lot different than the book. It's a great fucking book. It's a very smart book about the negative side to vigilantism, and there's a lot of really cool stuff that the book does, and the movie doesn't quite... Or the 1974 movie doesn't quite have, like, the same attitude towards its subject matter that the book does, and that's kind of putting it lightly, but the original 1974 film does do a lot of stuff really smart and well. It is certainly a snapshot and time capsule, really, of a lot of conversations back then, and New York and crime back then as well. And the original is very much a slow burn. You see it... Boy, talk about one of the most disturbing rape scenes put on film. In the original film, you get why Charles Bronson kind of turns into what he does in it, and it is kind of a slow burn. And when he first does shoot somebody in that, he's visibly shaking and throwing up. And it was smart to have Charles Bronson there in that role as somebody who is looking at himself like he suddenly wants to be an action guy like Charles Bronson, but then when it actually happens, you kind of see the psychological effect that is happening to him. You don't get really much of that in this movie. The movie, there is about 10% of this movie that is kind of like the original film. Just a little bit, but it's never enough because there's just not the right people in charge of this movie.
Well, I think you and I could go on for a couple hours about why Eli Roth probably shouldn't be in charge of fucking anything.
You know, if this movie were just called The Exterminator, because, like, issues that I have with this movie really harkens back to comparing it to much better material, and how you could have done something with the book, or even if you want to make it more like the original movie. But this movie really doesn't have any interest in doing that. It's way more like one of the Death Wish knockoff movies that came after that. I mean, it'd be like if you wanted to remake Halloween, but you made Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
It'd be like if you wanted to remake Friday the 13th, but you made Sleepaway Camp. Like, I mean, and on and on and on and on. But you know what the thing is, though, is I do like those... Kind of like how I like the knockoff slasher movies. I do like the knockoff vigilante movies. I love The Exterminator.
Well,
this movie...
there's a certain charm to that, too. I mean...
Vigilante movies are kind of the action movie equivalent of slasher movies.
No, they really are. They absolutely are.
Yeah.
Because it's always like, my wife, my girlfriend, my kid was killed or raped.
Uh-huh.
It's always either. It's not like slightly maimed. It's killed or raped.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to kill the people responsible. Mm-hmm. Every vigilante movie is pretty much that.
Not even really the people. Like, sometimes it's the people responsible. Most other times it's like if you walked in and you see someone robbing someone, you just shoot them in the back.
Yeah.
No, and I like those movies are fun. Those movies are a lot of fun because it's fun to see action heroes just kind of fuck a bunch of people up. And there is a lot of that in this movie. This movie, they really just should have said it was a remake of The Exterminator.
Yeah. And you know what? If they had done that, if they had called it a remake of The Exterminator, I think going in, you and I would have been 80 times more fucking excited.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have had the name recognition for most of the world.
Yeah.
But you and I would have been like, if they get like 5% of it right, fine.
Yeah, and like if there would at least be a scene of Bruce Willis with like a flamethrower or something like that. But you walk into it with it being called Death Wish, and you're not getting that. You're not getting something that is a fraction as provocative as the original Death Wish. You're not getting anything as psychological as either the book or the original film. Honestly, you're not even getting the sequels either, because this movie isn't as over the top as like Death Wish 3, which is kind of awesome, by the way. Which Death Wish 3 is kind of an awesome movie for terrible reasons, but it's kind of great. So this movie, it's not as provocative as like the original Death Wish.
It's not as interesting either.
No, it's definitely not as interesting. But it's also not as over the top or cartoonish as the sequels got either.
No, you know, like, there's not much about this movie that's cartoonish. Like,
no,
like this is one of those movies that right off the bat, I'll say there, in my opinion, there wasn't a whole lot to fucking like about this.
There was enough I liked about it.
Yeah, I didn't really like this movie.
I think I might have liked it a little better than you did.
And that's fine. I think that boils down to personal taste. And
yeah.
Because, quite frankly, I was pretty bored because, in my opinion, like, they had a decent cast. Like,
yeah.
Like, I hated the fact that Eli Roth was doing Death Wish. But Bruce Willis, I was like, okay. Like, and Bruce Willis can be pretty fucking hit or miss. When he's on, the dude's fucking on.
Yeah, so yeah, like how great Bruce Willis is in a movie is all dependent on whether or not he wants to be in the movie.
Exactly.
And I can get into Bruce Willis more here in a second, but as far as Eli Roth goes, I'll say this. This is the only movie he's done where I'd say it's kind of okay. It's the only movie he's done. Like, I'm just going to say, like, aside from he should not have been put in charge of Death Wish, aside from that, this is his best movie. By far, it's his best movie.
And you know what? I can't disagree with that. It is his best movie. But at the same time, this being his best movie and how fucking generic it ends up being.
Sure.
Does not speak well for him as a fucking filmmaker.
But at least we know now he can do generic. Yeah, I mean, I didn't...
But it's not even good generic.
I don't know. I mean...
Every fucking exterior shot of that fucking house is the same shot.
No, I agree with that.
They decide to, like, their idea of putting social commentary on this is using radio personalities. So they use Sway from Sirius XM Radio.
And Mad Cow.
And Mad Cow, who lost his fucking job today, so fuck that piece of shit.
Oh, I didn't know that. But
they shut down the station today.
Oh, well, how about, too, that you know it's in Chicago, so everyone's eating a deep dish pizza all the time in this movie. Now, I love deep dish pizza, but I don't eat it every day.
Well,
man,
it's in Chicago. No, it's. I lived in Chicago. It's in Evanston.
Oh,
not
this movie?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sure.
And it's kind of surrounded by Chicago.
Yeah.
But it's not quite Chicago.
Yeah, right, yeah. They, like, when, you know, I'm from Chicago, because it's just, I guess, easier to someone else than to say I'm from Naperville.
No, and I get that.
I understand that.
I get that, but it's... And you know what? I'll say setting this movie in Chicago, considering the things that are going on in that city, that does make sense.
It made sense. Same with how the original's New York.
Right, and in that period of time, New York was a rough fucking town.
Yeah.
And right now, Chicago, and more specifically, very small parts of Chicago are scary fucking places.
Yeah.
To be. And there are serious issues there. But this movie is one of those things that it's perpetuating a thing that people say now that drives me fucking crazy. And it's because I lived there, and it's because I still love the city. When people are like, oh, Chicago is just a hellhole right now. And it's like, no, it's fucking not. There's a 4-block area on the south side where if you're not selling drugs, you don't want to fucking be there. And that's fucking it.
It's not the overall dive hellhole that, like, New York kind of was in the early 70s.
No. In Chicago, you can't separate it by fucking islands. You know?
This movie, as a revenge movie, because it's Bruce. You know the plot of the movie. Bruce Willis loses his wife. His daughter ends up in a coma in the hospital, and he ends up turning vigilante. And just kind of when you think that it might kind of go the direction that like the original film did, where you're seeing somebody who is known for action movies kind of, they think they're becoming what they see on screen, and it just has real world consequences to it. Just when you think that might happen in this movie, like him injuring his hand when he's shooting his gun, it really doesn't. Like, when you think, even when they're trying to kind of provide this commentary about, like, it's easy to get a gun or something like that, and the radio personalities that... It's what a dumb guy kind of thinks a smart movie is. It's like when they tried putting in commentary about drones in the remake of RoboCop, where it's just like, okay, you're just kind of saying that in this because you sort of think you're being smart. But at the end of the day, the movie is just, it's Bruce Willis who he a few times goes up to some gangbangers on the street and shoots them. And then it just becomes a revenge movie where he finds out who broke into his house and killed his wife, and then he starts going after them. And as that kind of movie, I was honestly okay with it for the most part. It does a lot of editing and stuff that I thought was dumb. Like, the establishing shots of Chicago are in this more than Vincent D'Onofrio is.
Yeah, and the editing's shitty. Honestly, the cinematography was fucking atrocious, in my opinion.
I mean, I don't know.
It was fucking lazy, man.
It looked generic, but I was the only times where I was sitting there thinking about technical terms like that. It wasn't really so much how it was shot, but more so the editing that went into it. Like, oftentimes when it keeps showing flashbacks to thing we just saw.
We've established how much I hate that in movies.
No, same here. There was a lot of that in this movie.
And even in the content, they used it, like, they had 2, like, fucking montage sequences of that shit in this movie.
Yeah.
And both times it was
At the least.
It was Bruce Willis realizing things, and it's like...
And it's like, I know this. It just happened.
It just happened. So, make this a good acting moment. Make this a quiet moment of contemplation. Let the man act with his fucking face.
Yeah.
You don't need to do this. We know what he's thinking about.
Especially because I did enjoy Bruce Willis in this movie. I've seen Bruce Willis in a lot of things recently, from the 5th Die Hard movie to the stuff that's out on video, where he just looks like he would rather be slowly dying than being in this stuff. In this movie, compared to a lot of that direct-to-video stuff that he does, compared to that 5th Die Hard movie, honestly, I really thought he was coming alive at several points in this movie.
And I think maybe that was my problem with this movie, because as we've discussed, when Bruce Willis wants to be in something, he's great. And when he doesn't want to be in something, he's not great. And my personal feeling on this movie was, there was a couple scenes he really wanted to be in. Yeah, and which is way more than... And then there was a lot of scenes that he could have given 2 shits about.
But the scenes where, I don't know, the movie... The
scenes he wanted to be in, albeit were important scenes in the movie.
Yeah, and the rest of it is him kind of shooting people, and I thought he did both of those perfectly fine.
I honestly think the only scene in the entire movie where I saw Bruce Willis being the actor that I know he can be is the scene towards the end of the movie where he's in the basement having a conversation with Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yeah, that was great.
That was, hands down, the best scene in the movie. Yeah. But it was, in my opinion, the only scene where the man was actually earnestly trying.
Because it was one of the only times, I don't think that speaks more to Bruce Willis and whether or not he wanted to be in it. I think that is more so, that's one of the only scenes in this movie that called for that.
Well, but there was other scenes for it. There was certainly other scenes for it. There was moments where it should have been there, and because of the way the movie was directed, they weren't.
No, well, that is more about the direction than Bruce Willis. The parts where he's talking to his daughter, the parts where he's with his wife, even like things too where he's kind of getting this sick thrill watching himself on YouTube, which is one of the scenes in this movie where it's like you could have done something more here, but you didn't.
Yeah.
In terms of the writing and in terms of the direction. But as far as he goes, it did feel to me like he was giving a shit in this.
Like the scene where he first watched himself on YouTube.
Yeah.
The scene with Vincent D'Onofrio. And the scene at the beginning where he almost got in a fight at a soccer game.
Oh, yeah.
Those were the 3 scenes where I was like, okay, if we had this Bruce Willis acting going on through the entire movie, even the quiet moments, because a lot of the quiet moments, and it was a direction.
Yeah.
It was certainly a direction issue.
Yeah.
Because Eli Roth doesn't know how to direct a fucking movie.
Yeah.
Which the majority of his job is to get the actors where they need to be.
Mm-hmm.
And he couldn't do that with a great actor.
Yeah.
And that is... It's so fucking it's a waste.
No, it is. It's a guy who's in charge of this movie who shouldn't be in charge of it. But that, to me, speaks more to the direction than it does Bruce Willis.
Honestly, like, that was the thing. Like, when they announced they were going to do a remake of Death Wish...
He's good casting.
Honestly, you think about it, in that age range with a name recognition, he's kind of the only casting.
It depends on what kind of Death Wish you're wanting to do. If you're wanting it to be more like the book, somebody like Cranston or Michael Keaton would be better. If you're going...
Well, Michael Keaton can do fucking anything.
Yeah.
If you're going... Michael Keaton would have been great.
Yeah. If you're going more so...
But if
like the original movie, where it's like a guy who is known for being in action movies is a mild-mannered person, and then you're seeing these real-world consequences of him trying to be an action guy. Bruce Willis is great. Would be great for that. And in this, I appreciated seeing the Bruce Willis that I kind of grew up with to a point. As much as they would let him be that in this movie, it was refreshing to me versus countless direct-to-video stuff and like shit like Die Hard 5 and some other things. It should have been in this movie more, but I mean, I could say that about anything that's decent about this movie. Like the best scenes in this movie were like they showed up right when you needed them. They showed up right when you needed them, but they were like, it was just a little too late. And yes, I know that it is an R-rated action movie and stuff, but like, in my opinion, like this movie, like they decided to show some gruesome shit for the sake of showing gruesome shit. That's why it should be The Exterminator.
No, exactly.
The Exterminator has a scene where he puts a guy in a meat grinder. Like, I'm surprised they didn't do that in this film.
But it's one of those things that it's like, seeing gruesome bloody shit in a movie doesn't bother me.
No.
But it's context in the movie you're doing or everything else. So like in this scene, and I don't give it, I'm gonna spoil some shit. When he drops the car on that motherfucker.
I was fine with that.
You know what? It made me laugh.
It did, yes. And the bowling ball scene. And
that shit made me laugh.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I didn't need a laugh there.
I don't know.
Like, honestly, I think just, like, watching the car drop without the fucking head breaking open like a watermelon would have been more than enough.
But this movie's not that smartly written of a movie. So those things to kind of just, okay, well, it's like, all right, I'm getting some exploitation movie stuff here.
No, and
like,
that's...
I'm at least getting good death scenes. And I like the scene with Bruce Willis interrogating the guy. What I enjoy about this movie, and this movie isn't great, but this is the kind of movie that I grew up watching revenge movies like this and vigilante movies like this. This movie is not one of the better ones at all, but it's definitely not one of the worst. This is a movie that I would have had fun watching with my dad. And so there are things I appreciate about this. Namely, a lot of those death scenes that are just cartoonish and over the top. I would have a lot of fun watching that with my dad.
Well, yeah, that's fun to watch. Like, I could see this being a fun, like, stupid party movie. in a way, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
But-
at that point, just put on Death Wish 3, which just ends with him just mowing down an entire block with a fucking machine gun.
Yeah.
It's insane. It's pure insanity. And the movie is... It's not well written enough to be something like the original Death Wish, and it's not over the top enough to be just cartoonish like The Exterminator, Exterminator 2, or Death Wish 2 and 3. It's, to me, I don't know. This movie was... I enjoyed seeing Bruce Willis back on screen again and actually giving a shit. And as just a pretty generic revenge movie, vigilante movie, I sat there and was like, for the most part, I was kind of entertained by it. I didn't hate this movie. I didn't hate sitting there watching it. The movie, given the fact that it's got Death Wish on it, just the name on there, is why we're even like talking at this much at length about it.
Yeah.
Because like it's the most disappointing thing about this movie is just that
It's not Death Wish.
Yeah, you're comparing it to a much better movie and you're comparing it to a much better book. And when you're doing that, you're seeing all of the ways that this could be way better. And as it is, it's like it's okay. It's an hour and 40 minutes of Bruce Willis doing his thing and some revenge stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, no, because honestly, like, it would have been better than most of them that he's done in the past many years. But, like...
Bruce Willis?
Yeah, if this didn't have the name Death Wish, it probably would have been a straight-to-video movie.
But then Bruce Willis absolute, like, okay, like,
I
all right,
know
like...
why he keeps doing that, because
I can tell you why, but, like, but those scenes that you're talking about, those couple of scenes that you're talking about that you liked Bruce Willis in, there would have been none of that.
Oh, no, I understand.
If this was something that he just wanted to sleepwalk through, there wouldn't have even been those moments. It would have been in both. He probably would have been in 15 minutes of the movie, and it would have been from his hotel room. Apparently, Matthew Buck could honestly explain this more than I could. Apparently, Bruce Willis, like, he signed some contract with some company to where he's in, like, just this set number of action movies, even if it's just something for, like, 15, 20, 30 minutes. And he'll show up and usually be, like, the villain in them and just not do anything. Another interesting thing about, like, if you wanted to make this more like the 74 Death Wish, another cool thing about even having Bruce Willis in this is how much, like, let's say this was as good as the 1974 movie. His career at this point and Bronson's almost kind of would have paralleled each other a little bit, because Bronson, who was younger than Bruce Willis actually in the other, he was like 53, 54, kind of got a career resurgence after Death Wish, after doing some European movies for a while. And this could have been like that with Bruce Willis. Like, maybe this movie will make its money back at the box office, I don't know, but this could have been that for Bruce Willis, and I think he is really good in the movie, but this movie is not as good as the original movie.
And see, in my opinion, like, over the years, like, I've loved Bruce Willis in a lot of stuff, and some of it is like very mainstream stuff.
Right, yeah, I love Bruce Willis.
But in my opinion, the movies that Bruce Willis is always best in is the, like, every 4 to 5 years when Bruce Willis gets a wild hair up his ass and he's like, I'm gonna do sci-fi again.
Oh, yeah.
And it's always one of the best sci-fi movies of the fucking decade. Always. But it's always a cult hit. It's always.
Yeah.
It's always The Fifth Element. It's always Looper. It's always something that's amazing.
Yeah.
That should be huge, but isn't, because it's too fucking smart.
But eventually finds an audience.
Right. But those are the movies, those, and, you know, the first 3 Die Hards, and like, those are the movies he's going to be remembered for. But it's just kind of like, but I love a good Bruce Willis comedy.
I do too. Oh, one of the funniest movies from the 80s.
He's got amazing comedic timing.
One of the funniest movies from the 80s is Blind Date. Really underrated Blake Edwards movie, and he is so fucking funny.
Blind Date's fantastic. I recently rewatched the whole 9 yards and the whole 10 yards.
Oh, yeah.
You know what? For, like, dumb late 90s like comedies, they hold up fantastically well.
They're super funny. Bruce Willis is... He is very funny, and even in his action, because his best action movies are the ones where they give him that, like, Jersey smartassery.
Yeah.
Like, when he's McClane, or when he's Joe in The Last Boy Scout, which is a great fucking movie. But I love, like, when that Bruce Willis you get, at least you used to, every 4 or 5 years or something, when he'd be in, like, this kind of, like, indie movie, so this like kind of little movie like Nobody's Fool, or like when he would pop like that little bit he popped up in like 4 Rooms and like
Pulp Fiction at the time, you know. We forget that was a tiny little indie movie sometimes. I think, you know,
or like when he'll do he did this movie in like 90 or 91, this hard drama called Mortal Thoughts, where he was an abusive husband. I mean, people forget how much range Bruce Willis has.
No, and he does a ton of it. And he's one of those guys that honestly, like, I really want Bruce Willis to have that, because the man's getting older. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
He doesn't look his age, but he's getting up there.
Yeah.
I want him to have that last third of his career to be like the third when people go, oh, Bruce Willis might get an Oscar.
I want that too.
Because I think he's capable of it.
Oh, he absolutely
honestly believe he's capable of it.
No, I totally fucking agree.
Because if it weren't a genre movie, like the subtleties and nuances and just the heartbreak in the man's eyes in Looper, like if that was like a drama and not a fucking sci-fi movie, he'd have gotten nominated for fucking something.
Even The Sixth Sense.
Yeah.
And that was up for Best Picture. No, like this, it's like it does make it heartbreaking when you see Bruce Willis in like those direct-to-video films and things like that, where he's just not just giving a shit at all. This one, I kind of hope this movie does well, honestly, because I want to see him in more stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I want to see him just kind of get more opportunities to be in more stuff and surprise us again.
Yeah.
I hope that happens. I do. I mean, they are advertising this movie. As a lot of the posters say Bruce is back. And in a way, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we got Glass coming out.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
that could be a resurgence for him if it's good, because Split was great.
I loved Split.
And I think that was a nice resurgence for M. Night Shyamalan. And part of me is like, really kind of like, oh, cool, he's going to make his little universe. And then part of me is like, the motherfucker's got to make a universe.
Why not?
And the only reason I'm excited that he's having his universe is it brings Bruce Willis back.
Yeah, I agree. Same here. Would you recommend seeing this on video or Netflix or something?
I could, like, if you enjoy, like, if you have a soft spot in your heart for, like, that kind of revenge, like, Death Wish, Exterminator, even the Punisher movies.
Yeah.
Which are better than this.
They are, yeah.
But if you like that kind of thing, if you're into the vigilante thing, or you want to see some, like, stupid ultra violence and whatever, like, to me, this is a Netflix watch.
Right.
Like, this, like, you know, honestly, I could see myself watching this again on Netflix to just, if it was there and I had nothing else to do. But I wouldn't pay money to go see it. Like,
yeah, like, my personal taste aside, this is perfectly serviceable to rent it or watch it on Netflix, and you'll get your time's worth on that, I think, because there's enough entertainment value in the movie. If you like revenge movies and vigilante movies, this is certainly not one of the better ones. It's also not one of the more over the top ones, but it's not bad. Like, I've seen far worse as far as that goes. But me personally, like, if I went to go see this on like a $5 matinee with my dad, I would have been fine with that. Like, I would have been like, okay, well, I kind of got my time and my $5 money's worth here. All right, fine.
A $5 matinee, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because, and you know what? I'll say this for anything anymore. Anything that I say Netflix or rent, if you can get it for a $5 matinee, go. solely because I want to keep theaters in business.
Oh, sure.
I do. Like, I love the convenience of watching shit at home. I love Netflix. I love Hulu. I love Amazon. Streaming's fantastic. I get to see a lot more shit that I wouldn't have the opportunity to see. Mm-hmm. But still, even a bad movie on the big screen is a movie on the big screen, and movies are meant to be seen on the big screen.
Yeah.
Like, so a $5 matinee, I'll go watch fucking Oogie Loves again. not really.
It was worth seeing that shit on the big screen.
It really was, though. It was, because if we hadn't paid money to see that on the big screen, we wouldn't have finished it.
No, God.
And we would have missed out on some fucking insanity.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Because that is the nice thing of the big screen, is no matter what, you don't want to get up and leave unless it's so truly atrocious.
Yeah.
Because you spent money and you drove there and it's dark.
Uh-huh. So in that regard, pay full price to go see this in the theater. No, I wouldn't recommend that. I would not recommend paying full price tickets to go see this. But if you miss this kind of movie, this kind of revenge movie, I think it's serviceable as that. It hits all of those things that you kind of have to hit in a movie like this without going farther than it should.
And I think maybe that's my big problem with this movie, is it has all the notes.
Yeah.
It has all the instruments. But it's not a very good song. Uh-huh. You know? Like, it's all the pieces are there.
Mm-hmm.
And then they put a person with limited mental capacity and talent in charge who fucked it all up. Man, I know it sounds like I'm hating on Eli Roth a lot, but name a good movie he made. I fucking dare you.
He has his fan base. I'm not one of them, but
well, you know what else has a fan base? Meth.
The meth of directors. Don't watch Cabin Fever, you lose your teeth. Nah, I don't know. Like I said, I for the most part, I thought this movie was okay. It was entertaining enough. But whatever. Like, all right. So I gotta head back in there because I gotta see Red Sparrow here in a little bit. But
I gotta go home and de-poodlefy my hair. And sorry, guys, it's a little poofy today.
All right, everyone. Thanks a bunch for watching. See you soon.